The ocean was strangely calm the night I arrived at Blackwater Island, too calm for a place known for storms, shipwrecks, and decades-old disappearances. As the ferry cut through the still water, I felt something watching from the island's jagged cliffs. For years I'd heard rumors about this place, stories of an abandoned lighthouse, a ruined village, and shadows that moved without any light to cast them. But none of that was why I came here. I came because of my brother. Daniel had vanished 2 months earlier during a research trip to Blackwater Island. His last message to me was a voice note, shaky, breathless, and filled with something I had never heard from him before. Fear. Evan, don't come here. Don't follow me. There's something wrong with this place. If I don't make it out, please don't. The voice note ended with a scream, then static, then nothing. The authorities said he probably slipped, drowned, or couldn't find his way back. The island was uninhabited after all, but I knew my brother. Daniel wasn't careless. If he screamed like that, something happened to him. And whatever it was, I needed to find out. The ferry horn blared, jolting me from the memory. The old ferryman didn't speak once. During the entire ride, his eyes fixed on the island, as if he expected it to come alive and attack the boat. When the ferry docked, he finally looked at me. You shouldn't be here. Why not? I asked, lifting my backpack. He hesitated, then whispered, It's not the dead you should fear on Blackwater. It's the ones who should be dead, but aren't. Before I could ask what he meant, he shoved off and turned the boat around, refusing to stay even a second longer. The island greeted me with silence. No birds, no wind, no sound of waves breaking. Just a heavy, suffocating stillness. Ahead of me was a narrow, dirt path leading into the dense forest that covered most of the island. According to Daniel's notes, what little the search team recovered, his campsite and research equipment were somewhere near the old lighthouse on the northern cliffs. I took a deep breath and started walking. The forest. The deeper I went, the colder it became. Not normal cold, a natural cold. The kind that sinks into your bones. I zipped my jacket and kept moving, noticing strange carvings on tree, trunks, circles, lines, human, figures twisted into impossible shapes. I recorded everything with my camera. About an hour in, I found the first sign of Daniel. A torn notebook page stuck under a rock. The shadows mimic us. Not always. Only when they want to. I keep seeing myself between the trees. My stomach dropped. I looked around. Nothing but trees. But for a moment, I could have sworn one of them had a handprint on its bark, long fingers. Too long to be human. I pressed on. Daniel's campsite. By sunset, I reached a clearing. Torn tent. Abandoned equipment. Ashes from a fire that must have burned weeks ago. And Daniel's backpack. I rushed toward it, opened it, and froze. Inside were hundreds of photos. Not of landscapes. Not of wildlife. Not of research, but of me, sleeping, walking, sitting in my apartment, leaving my house. Photos taken from outside my windows, late at night, during storms, in moments I didn't even know someone could see me. My hands trembled. as I dropped the pictures. What was Daniel doing with these? Why was he watching me? Or was he even the one who took them? Before I could process anything, I heard a branch snap behind me. I spun around. A human figure stood between the trees. Same height as me, same stance, same clothes. No, not possible. It stepped into the fading light. It was me. A perfect copy. Face pale, eyes black, expression empty. I stumbled back. The copy didn't move at first. It just stared. Then slowly it tilted its head to the side, bones cracking as it did. Then it smiled. A wide, wrong, unnatural smile. I ran the lighthouse path. Branches whipped my face. Roots caught my feet. I didn't stop until the forest thinned and the silhouette of the old lighthouse appeared against the blood-red sunset. My lungs burned. My legs shook, but I kept moving. Inside the lighthouse, the air was damp and smelled of rust and salt. The walls were covered in scratch marks, some looking fresh like fingernails, dragged across stone. I climbed the spiral stairs. Halfway up, I found a door slightly open. Inside the room were more photos, this time of Daniel, all taken on the island, in the forest, near the cliffs. Some showed him running, others hiding, some screaming. One photo, taken at the exact moment the shutter clicked, showed a tall figure behind him shaped like a human, but with no face, just smooth, pale skin. I forced myself to look closer. Behind the faceless figure was another silhouette, mine. I clenched the photo so hard it tore in my hands. Evan, the whisper echoed behind me. I froze. That voice. I turned slowly. Daniel stood at the door, pale, eyes hollow, clothes shredded. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Daniel? My voice cracked. He stepped closer, shaking. You shouldn't have come. I rushed toward him, but he staggered back. No, he cried. Stay away from me. What happened to you? He pressed a trembling hand to the wall to keep himself steady. They follow you, copy you, replace you. They don't like the light. They want to take your place. My blood ran cold. The shadows, I whispered. He nodded. This island, it's alive, Evan. It wants us. Before I could say anything, heavy footsteps echoed from below the stairs. One step, then another. Slow, deliberate. Daniel's eyes widened in terror. It's coming. What is? He didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed my arm with surprising strength and pulled me toward the top of the lighthouse. We have to go. Now. The footsteps grew louder, closer, too heavy to be human. Halfway up the final staircase, something exhaled behind us. A deep guttural sound that didn't belong to any creature I'd ever heard. Daniel pushed me harder. Don't look back! But I did, for a split second, and immediately regretted it. The thing climbing after us wasn't human, or animal, or anything natural. Its body was wrong. Too tall, too thin, joints bending in unnatural angles. Its skin was pale like old wax, and its face, it didn't have one. Just smooth skin stretching over its skull. But worst of all, it had my clothes, my posture, my exact movements. It was copying me, becoming me, replacing me. Run, Daniel shouted. The top of the lighthouse. We burst onto the top platform. The ocean wind slammed into us. Daniel grabbed a flare gun from an old emergency box. They hate the light, he said. It's the only thing that hurts them. The creature reached the top step. Daniel fired the flare. A burst of red fire lit up the night. The creature shrieked, its skin bubbling and melting like wax under a flame. It stumbled back, flailing. But something else happened. Its shape shifted rapidly. My face, Daniel's face, then a twisted mixture of both. Finally, it fell down the stairs, screeching. Daniel collapsed to his knees, gasping. I grabbed him. We have to get off the island. He shook his head. You don't understand. That was just one of them. There are more, many more. They don't stop. They don't die. They're part of the island. I swallowed hard. Then what do we do? Daniel looked at me, tears filling his hollow eyes. We survive, but behind him, a shadow rose slowly from the wall. Then another, all shaped like us, coming closer and closer, as if the island itself was breathing in the darkness. The darkness around us thickened, as if the entire island had awakened. Shadows rose from every corner of the lighthouse walls, stretching, breathing, crawling with hunger. Daniel grabbed my arm. We have to move. They're converging. What are they? I asked, backing away, as one shadow detached itself from the wall and took on a human form. Daniel swallowed hard. They're the remnants of those who came before us. Explorers, sailors, villagers. The island didn't kill them. It kept them. The first shadow stepped into the moonlight, and its shape sharpened, its face twisting until it resembled Daniel's. Is that? I whispered. No, Daniel said sharply. It's not me. It's what the island wants you to believe. The copy took a step forward, then another. Silent, emotionless, dead. Daniel fired another flare. The red light washed over the creature, and it hissed as its form dissolved into smoke. But the smoke didn't drift away. It slid across the ground like a living thing, toward us. That shouldn't happen, Daniel shouted. Move! We raced down the opposite staircase, the rusted metal trembling under our feet. The entire lighthouse groaned, as if the island itself was shifting, responding. Daniel, why didn't you try to leave earlier? I gasped. His reply came out broken. I did. And every time, I ended up back here. The island changes paths. It won't let you go unless it decides to. We reached the bottom floor. The door we entered was gone, replaced by solid stone. What the? A low rumble vibrated through the lighthouse. Dust fell from the ceiling. The ground beneath us trembled. Earthquake? I asked. Daniel shook his head slowly. No, that's something digging. A crack split open across the floor. Then another. And another. Shadows seeped through the openings like black water. They began to take shape. Limbs elongating, torsos stretching, faces forming, all of them copies of me. Hundreds of them, each head tilting at the same exact angle, each step synchronized like a mirror reflecting a nightmare. Daniel grabbed my wrist. Don't look at them. Don't acknowledge them. If you do, they'll lock onto your identity. Too late. One of the copies stared straight at me, its smile widening until the skin tore. It whispered in my exact voice. You don't belong here. I do. Adrenaline exploded through my body. Daniel, run! We sprinted toward a rusted maintenance hatch at the back wall. Daniel kicked it open, and we dove inside just as dozens of identical hands slammed onto the hatch behind us. Clawing, scraping, pounding. The metallic tunnel was narrow, forcing us to crawl. The air grew colder and damper with each meter. Where does this lead? I whispered. Down, Daniel said. Down where? He didn't answer, because we both heard it. Breathing. Not ours. Slow, wet, labored, ahead of us. In the darkness. Daniel turned on a small flashlight. A tunnel of stone extended endlessly into the blackness. We're under the island now, Daniel said breathlessly. The villagers built these tunnels centuries ago. They believed the island was cursed. They sealed off the caves to keep whatever lived down here from reaching the surface. So why didn't it work? I asked. Daniel lowered his head. Because the curse wasn't in the caves. It was the island itself. We moved cautiously. Strange markings covered the walls. Symbols, identical to the ones carved on the trees above. But these were older, deeper, etched with desperation. Several read. Do not speak to the shadows. Do not let them learn your face. Burn the copies. Do not follow your own reflection. And at the very end, you cannot escape what looks like you. A cold shiver crawled up my spine. Daniel, I whispered, how long were you stuck here? His voice wavered. I lost track of days. Maybe weeks, maybe months. Down here, time doesn't feel real. Ahead, a faint glow flickered. Not fire, not sunlight. Something else. We followed it into a wide cavern and froze. Dozens of human figures stood in a circle, pale, silent, unmoving. Copies of Daniel. Every age, every expression. Some looked terrified, some looked angry, some looked hollow. But all of them were him. What am I looking at? I whispered. Daniel stared at them, trembling violently. These are the versions of me the island created. Every time I tried to leave, every time I resisted, and every memory I held on to, the island made another copy. Some were made to confuse me. Some were made to replace me. My voice cracked. So, how do I know you're the real Daniel? He closed his eyes. You don't. One of the Daniel copies turned toward us. Then another. Then all of them. Dozens of identical faces staring at me. A chorus of whispering voices filled the cavern, overlapping, layered, wrong. He doesn't belong. He doesn't belong. He doesn't belong. Daniel grabbed my shoulders. We need to move. Now! We ran deeper into the caves as the army of Daniel copies started following. Some crawling on walls, some on the ceiling, some twisting in ways no human body should move. Their whispers grew louder. Move on. Stay with us. We can be you. Let us take your place. The heart of the island. The tunnel opened into a massive chamber filled with bioluminescent moss. Blue light pulsed gently, illuminating something at the center. A pool of black liquid shadow. It rippled like water, but it wasn't water. It was alive. Daniel yanked me behind a large rock. This is the island. It feeds here. The shadow pool shifted. Faces surfaced, just for a moment. human faces, then melted back into the liquid. I whispered, shaking. This thing made the copies. It is the copies, Daniel said. Anyone who steps foot here becomes part of it. First it studies your shape, then your voice, then your memories, until it doesn't need you anymore. A tendril of shadow rose from the pool, sniffing the air like a predator catching a scent. It turned toward us. Daniel grabbed my hand. We can't stay here. If it touches you, it will consume everything you are. We ran toward another tunnel, narrowed and jagged, leading upward. But as we ran, the ground trembled. The pool surged upward, forming into a towering figure, shifting between my face, Daniel's face, and dozens of others. A deep, multi-layered voice echoed through the chamber. You are already mine. The shadow lunged. We sprinted up the tunnel, slipping on the wet stone. The creature's tendrils scraped the floor behind us, ripping through rock like paper. There, Daniel shouted. Light! A faint glow ahead. A crack in the stone ceiling where moonlight spilled in. We scrambled toward it, but a shadow hand grabbed my ankle. I screamed as it burned like ice. The shadow crawled up my leg, forming into my own hand, my own arm, my own face, screaming silently at me. Daniel grabbed my arms. Don't let it take you. Fight it. I can't. You must. With a desperate heave, Daniel pulled me free. The shadow hand dissolved into smoke. We climbed toward the moonlight crack, hands bleeding, breathing ragged. But then we broke through. Back in the forest. We collapsed onto the forest floor, gasping. The night air felt like fire in my lungs. But something was wrong. The forest was moving, not the trees. The shadows between them. Dozens, hundreds, encircling us. Some shaped like Daniel, many shaped like me, others shaped like people long dead. Daniel pulled out his last flare. Once this burns out, we're done. The shadows stopped, just out of the red flare's light radius. Watching, waiting. Do we run? I asked. Daniel shook his head. No, running just gives them time to spread. We need to make it to the docks. The ferry comes at sunrise. I nodded. We moved together. Flare held high. Each footstep felt like walking through a graveyard filled with our own ghosts. The copies followed silently, matching our pace, circling closer. Halfway to the shoreline, the flare sputtered. No, stay with me, Daniel whispered. The flare dimmed. The shadows surged. Run, Daniel shouted. We sprinted, branches tearing at our faces, shadows leaping from tree to tree. A copy of me ran alongside us, smiling, whispering, I made it off the island once. Let me take your place this time. Another copy of Daniel grabbed my shoulder, its face melting like wax. The shoreline appeared, the dock, the ocean, but the ferry wasn't there. Daniel gasped. It always comes before sunrise. Why isn't it here? Behind us. The shadows closed in. Daniel pulled a rusted lantern off a hook on the dock post. If the flare is gone, we need fire. He flicked the lantern's striker. Nothing. Again, nothing. The shadows stepped closer. One of them, wearing my face, reached out to touch me. Daniel struck the lantern one final time. A spark. A flame. Whoosh. The lantern flared to life. The shadows recoiled, hissing, dissolving back into the forest. But the flame was small, weak, temporary. Daniel whispered, voice breaking. If this goes out, the island takes us. I looked up at the horizon. The sky was dark blue, just minutes before sunrise. We stood back to back, lantern held high, shadows circling like wolves. The flame flickered. The shadows stepped closer. The ocean breeze grew stronger. The flame flickered again. Then, a horn, far in the distance. Daniel's eyes widened. The ferry. Lights cut through the fog as the boat approached. The shadows roared, dozens of voices screeching at once. We ran to the edge of the dock as the lantern finally died. Darkness slammed into us. A shadow hand grabbed my wrist. Another grabbed Daniel's throat. Daniel screamed, "Jump! Jump now!" We leapt off the dock as the shadows reached for us. Cold ocean swallowed my body. Above the water, I heard the screams of the island. Dozens of voices crying out as if mourning. Strong hands pulled me upward. The ferryman, his eyes wide with terror. "You too. You're lucky. The island doesn't usually let people go." I looked down at the water. Shadows thrashed just below the surface. Faces forming, reaching upward, then sinking slowly into the deep. Daniel collapsed beside me, shaking violently. "We made it," I whispered. The ferryman didn't answer. He stared at Daniel, at his reflection in the water, at his shadow on the deck, then at me. "Before I take you to shore," he said slowly, "I need to know." He pointed to Daniel. "Are you certain you brought back the real one?" I froze. Daniel didn't look at me. He didn't say a word. He just smiled. Too wide, too still, too perfect. The same smile the copy wore in the forest. My blood ran cold, because in that moment, I wasn't sure, not sure at all.